Thank you, Simone, and welcome everybody. I've got about 15 or 20 minutes. I don't think I'll need all of it, but we'll go ahead and go through this. On a Friday the 13th, Confessions of an Assessor Turned Rebel. I don't know that I'm a rebel, but I have done a number of assessments, and I want to be straightforward about some of those experiences. So hopefully we get some good dialogue along the way. For those of you that don't know me, I've been in IT my whole career. I can't believe it's 45 years at this point. People that know me know I'm in the USM echo chamber. One of the things I like about the OSC is it gets me out of my echo chamber once in a while. But I admit I am stuck. I got USM on the brain, so you're going to hear from USM anytime you hear from me. Um, I've done multiple assessments, most of them the traditional process capability assessments, but I've done IDLE, ISO, COBIT-based assessments, a number of them. And so I want to share some of the experiences, at least my perspective of the good, the bad, and the ugly about formal assessments. I think we all know what assessments are. You know, you go through a scoring, uh, uh, fully met, partially met, not met kind of exercise. But assessment is really a broad term. We're always assessing when you think about it. Sometimes assessments are very small and quick, and sometimes they're large and enterprise. And I'm really talking about the formal assessments where we define this is the as is state, this is where we want to be, and we take these measurements and trying to identify, what do we have to approve to get to our destination. And assessments can be very good. It can arm the enterprise with really good data for understanding, what direction do we need to go in. The challenge is there's a lot of different specialized assessments, and some of them are kind of general business assessments. Some of them are industry specific. Many of them that we're familiar with are IT specific, and there's some for other domains like HR and finance and so forth. And these specialized assessments are very valuable for these specific areas. Of course, the challenge is when we specialize, we tend to create silos. We tend to fragment the enterprise, and we also tend to duplicate effort. And so this is part of the challenge when we have sometimes larger enterprise doing multiple assessment activity. And this is some of the things that happen. This is one of my favorite videos, and it reminds me of the days when I did assessment. Hopefully you'll be able to hear this.
What you do at Initech is you take the specifications from the customers and you bring them down to the software engineers.
Yes, that's right.
Well, then I just have to ask, why couldn't the customers just take them directly to the software people, huh?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because engineers are not good at dealing with customers.
So you physically take the specs from the customer?
Well, no, my secretary does that, or the fax.
So then you must physically bring them to the software people.
Well, no. Yeah, I mean, sometimes.
What would you say you do here?
Well, look, I already told you. I deal with the goddamn customers so the engineers don't have to. I have people skills. I am good at dealing with people. Can't you understand that? What the hell is wrong with you people?
So hopefully you heard that. It's one of my favorite scenes from the movie Office Space. And it reminds me of many times when you have external assessors, you have two people doing the assessment activity. And I've been in those kinds of assessments. And it's kind of a Bob and Bob scenario, and it just is a lot of that rings true for my experience. And one of the things that I've noticed when I look back at that, and it's not that we didn't do a good job. We did a good job for customers, but one of the things that I noticed is uh, a lot of the people that we engaged with really weren't learning anything. They were really just checking boxes. We had to get to a level 3 or a level 4. We want to go from this point to this point. And when you apply that to multiple domains in the enterprise, you can get a lot of confusion. What one area says security is at a level 2, and IT is at a level 3, and sales and marketing thinks they're a level 4, and where's the whole enterprise? And so it really can confuse and fragment the enterprise, and that's why you get meetings like the video we just heard. So I think we want to use assessments as a learning tool. You really should take a long view of assessments. And so what I want to do is kind of go through that, and then we can hopefully get 20 minutes discussion, maybe more, because I don't think this is going to take too long. The specialized assessments, the ones that are most common, focus on how well internal processes execute. This is the capability maturity assessment that we're familiar with. And they evaluate how well a practice is managed and executes, or they focus on compliance, right? So maybe a security assessment. But this doesn't automatically guarantee better service delivery to our customers. Capability is different from the value that the internal actions create for customers. So the traditional process capability maturity assessments are definitely an inside-out exercise. That's not to say that there aren't formalized assessments that are a little bit more outside in, and they focus more on the ability to deliver meaningful value, at least to some extent. And they evaluate how well an organization understands what the customer's perception of value. And this, I think, is critical for continuous learning in an enterprise, and keeping everybody focused on external value. The challenge is it's really hard to benchmark that, because each customer's visions are different, and it often requires real-time feedback. Some of the examples you see up here, EFQM, Baldr's, and USM, of course, which you'll hear about, I'll talk about later in a minute or two. But one of the things that will drive you crazy about this is the different perspectives that the various assessment approaches take. Really make it difficult to harmonize data. You get all kinds of spider charts and graphs and heat maps and so on. And in fact, with AI and the amount of data that we're capturing today, we have more visuals and data than ever. So this is not trivial. So we wind up with data overload and fragmentation at the same time. That's not a recipe for success, and it's not, frankly, a recipe for organizational learning, in my opinion. And it doesn't enable a systems view, a systems thinking view, which is again critical to an outside-in perspective. So harmonization of this assessment data, I think, is really needed. We need to do both. We need this inside out to know how well we're doing our internal processes, but we also need the outside in. And so without harmonizing both of these approaches, silos emerge. And we're using maturity assessments that are not often not very well connected. So we really need some kind of unifying structure to align our assessment activity. And so, again, I've been screaming this for a while now. Service management is everyone's business today. It's not just IT, it's not finance, it's not HR, it's the entire enterprise. That's what enterprise service management's all about. So what I did is I took a look at, with Chat GPT's, AI help, and tried to see, what approaches might help with this harmonization need. EFQM balances outside in and inside out to some extent, but it's really not service specific. Baldridge goes back to the TQM days and is really US centric. COVID is definitely IT centric and definitely inside out. ISO standards is typically domain specific and tends to be compliance oriented. The CMF is inside out and IT oriented. BPM models, again, are process oriented, typically inside out. And USM, not surprisingly, I had this in the back of my head when I did this, it really, because it's architected to be based on systems thinking, it is service neutral, it's lean, and it's really uniquely positioned to harmonize assessment data, which I found really fascinating. And so the USM professionals have an assessment project that we're working on, and I'm starting to dig into that because of this exposure. So the USM value maturity model is what we use, and it's really not new. It was developed by KPMG back in the late 90s. So this is not new, but again, most people that know me know that your assessor turned rebel, if you will, is a USM evangelist. So you're not going to hear from me without hearing about USM. The value maturity model with USM, it has a generic nature. It applies to every domain in the enterprise, and it can even and is being applied to external suppliers as well. And so the terminology is different than what we're used to. Doesn't use identical terminology that we're familiar with. But what's interesting about the terminology is once you get comfortable with it, it can be easily transported across domains. It's not specific to a single domain. And this is very helpful when you want to bridge assessment data from multiple assessments and harmonize assessment data. So one things that we're thinking about is starting with an outside-in USM using the value maturity model to assess where we're at, complement that with some inside-out practice-oriented capability type assessments. They're two different things. They're not integrated in any way, but they're two different perspectives, and you need both, right? And this is how we get a systems view. And I think USM systems thinking roots really allow us to connect the dots between complex service supply chains. So what this tells me is when we combine this inside out and outside in, I think we get much more ability to have cross-functional learning in the enterprise, which I think is enormously important today. And it allows us to prioritize context over compliance. So we're not just trying to get to level 5, we're getting to a level 3 because that's what the customers need. That's really what we should be doing. And it allows us to build a culture of continuous learning. So we're all in this together. Everyone is a service provider. We all should be speaking the same language and pulling the rope in the same direction. So again, I don't think I took the whole 20 minutes, but that's what I wanted to open up and have some conversation about. And this is my ending slide. So I'd like to so not leave this up because I'd like to see everybody. And right now I don't see anyone. So
what you can do is, just leave this up for a second. So anybody that wants to copy down why we have the OSC here, our channels, Reddit, LinkedIn, Discord. LinkedIn events is definitely your source of truth as to the events and the time zones. So you can keep that as a regular to check out for every Friday. And Discord, if you want to join into some of the other conversations, that's where sometimes we'll make some changes. And of course, Reddit, I don't know, Baron, tell us more about the Reddit side of things.